Hey everyone, and welcome. Today we're diving deep into the stories that pretty much run our lives. The big narratives that tell us who our friends are, who we're supposed to fight, and what's even real anymore.
I mean, think about it. It's a huge question, right? Especially these days, when you're just getting blasted with information from all sides, all the time. It can really feel like we're just characters in some massive chaotic script that somebody else wrote.
So how in the world do you start to make sense of it all? Well, today we're going to try to decode it by looking through three completely different lenses. A really old spiritual one, a modern political one, and a kind of mind-bending systemic view that looks at the machine behind all the stories.
Okay, so let's jump right into our first lens. This one goes way, way back. It's a framework that sees all of reality as one giant, epic, spiritual war between an absolute divine truth and a powerful, cosmic-level deception.
So in this worldview, deception isn't just, a bad thing people do. It's an actual force. It's personified. The idea is that there's this ultimate source of all lies, a spiritual enemy whose entire nature is just pure falsehood. And right away, boom, you have a very clear villain in this war for reality. And on the flip side, you have the perfect counterpoint. That ultimate lie is set against an ultimate, singular, personified truth. So the goal here gets reframed. You see, it's not about finding a truth out there. It's about aligning yourself with the truth. So what you get is a really clear story arc. The narrative says that those who follow the truth are going to face some serious heat from worldly powers who are literally trying to rewrite the rules of reality. But the story promises that through faith you find strength when you're weak, and that at the end of the day, a divine judgment comes and makes sure the truth wins out.
Okay, so let's shift gears. Let's take those ancient ideas of good versus evil, of heroes and villains, and see how they get mapped onto a modern, real-world political battlefield.
Now for this section, we're looking at a source that comes from a very specific point of view. It's a pro-Trump commentary about a conflict with Iran. Looking at it this way helps us see exactly how these political stories get built, piece by piece.
And this slide just lays it all out, doesn't it? It shows the core strategy here, creating a crystal clear us versus them. And notice it's not just about countries. It's about political movements, ideologies, even specific news channels. The heroes are on one side, the villains on the other, and the battle lines are drawn.
The language here is just so important. This quote, which the source pulls out, paints the hero, President Trump, as this incredibly decisive, powerful force. And the enemy, they aren't just beaten, they're totally dehumanized, called a coward, a dog. This kind of talk just hammers home the hero's strength and the enemy's pure wickedness.
So you see, this kind of narrative is doing more than just telling you what happened. It's building the justification for action. By framing the world this way, it validates a certain kind of leadership, one that might say it's against war, but also promises to use absolutely overwhelming force when it decides it's time to act.
All right, let's get to our third and final lens. And for this one, we have to zoom way, way out. Because this one isn't about the stories themselves, but it asks a wild question. What's the underlying system that makes these narratives so damn powerful in the first place?
Okay, the central idea here is pretty mind-bending. It's that most of us have stopped experiencing reality directly. Instead, we're living inside a symbolic layer that's been built on top of it. Think about it. You don't experience a protest. You experience the coverage of the protest, which already comes packaged with a specific meaning and emotional spin.
This quote, wow, it's incredibly powerful when you know where the word brand comes from. It literally comes from the act of burning a mark into livestock to show ownership and make them easier to sort. This framework is arguing that the exact same thing is being done to us, but with ideas.
So according to this source, our reality gets replaced systematically in about 6 layers. It starts with symbols taking over for real experience. Then algorithms start training us how to behave. Soon, actual information is replaced by emotional content that's just designed to get a reaction. Fear is used to keep us in line. And it all ends up in full-blown narrative warfare and political theater where the performance of power is way more important than actually solving any problems.
And this all leads to a really provocative conclusion, that the whole left versus right political divide, the thing that feels like the central conflict of our time, is actually just a useful illusion. It's a brilliant tool for segmenting the audience, keeping two predictable teams fighting each other so that nobody ever stops to question the system itself.
Okay, so we've looked at the spiritual, the political, and the systemic.
Let's pull all three of these frameworks together now and see what happens when we put them all on the table, side by side.
This is really where it all clicks into place. I mean, look at them. They seem so different, right? But despite all their differences, every single one of these frameworks describes a war for reality. It doesn't matter if the enemy is a spiritual father of lies, a political opponent, or the control system itself. The battle is always over who controls the story. Because whoever controls the story controls you.
Now, I want to be super clear here. The point of breaking all this down isn't to try and convince you that one of these is the right one, because honestly, that would just be me trying to sell you on another narrative.
No, the real takeaway is this. The real power isn't in picking a side in the story, it's in seeing the machinery that builds the story. It's about developing that critical awareness to be able to stop and recognize when any story is being used to frame your reality, to trigger your emotions, and to direct your behavior.
And that, of course, brings us to the final question. And this one's for you. Once you've seen the stage and the costumes and the script, how does that change the way you watch the play? It's something to think about. Thanks so much for joining me.